All right, so this series is about how-tos for yoga teacher training. So different activities, different things that you can do at training, and give you some insight into actually how to do them in your yoga teacher training. So several of you in the group and on the page have indicated that you already have a yoga teacher training program up and running. So this is really to support that, as well as those of you who are still thinking about whether or not you want to offer yoga teacher training at your studio. And so this will give you some insight into how to do some of these different activities if you decide to start your own yoga teacher training, or if you're just planning it for the coming year. So last video, I talked about testing and the importance of testing, sort of some pointers on how to test, and some of the testing materials that are part of the materials that I offer. This week, we are talking about journaling for training, using journaling in your training. So all of these topics are inspired by anybody who has posted a question, clients of mine who ask questions. So if you have a topic that you would like covered in one of these Facebook Lives, please feel free to reach out, message me, post in the group, and we will put that topic on the schedule. So one other thing I wanted to mention just here before we get started is, if you are in Yoga Trainers Tribe, I'm in the process right now of marketing my own local yoga teacher training session, the next one I have coming up. And so I am posting updates every once in a while, perhaps once a week, about how my marketing is going, what I'm doing, what advertising I'm doing, those kinds of things. So if you tune into the tribe, if you're already there, you'll see my posts about how the marketing for my yoga teacher training is going and what I'm doing specifically. So last week I posted how some of my ads were going and what some of my ads were. So just post there if you've got questions about that, and I will be adding to that as time goes on. All right, so this week's topic, using journaling at your yoga teacher training. It's one of my favorite activities at training, and I'll get into why that is. It really gives, this journaling time really gives students an opportunity to reflect on what's going on in training, the topics that are going on in training, and what their thoughts are and their feelings are about training. It's also a time for them to really absorb some of the information. A lot of times there are many topics in yoga teacher training for which is the first time that the trainee may be exposed to that topic. So it gives them time to reflect and also absorb that information, and really a space for them to express what they're thinking and feeling about the topic from their own perspective, not just me or a teacher giving them the information and them thinking about it, but really a time to express their thoughts about the topics that we're covering in yoga teacher training. Journaling in my training is directed. And what I mean by that is that I give the trainees a topic to journal about. So it's not just, okay, get out your journal and write some thoughts about what you think. What I do is, for every time that we journal, I give them a topic, a question, a quote, some reference point from which to start, so that they are journaling about a relevant topic to the yoga teacher training. I use quotes from both traditional yoga teachers, Western teachers, sometimes not even yoga teachers, but something or some quote from a book or an article that has sparked an idea in my mind that it relates back to what we're talking about in yoga, in the yoga teacher training. So I use a variety of sources to pull from. I do pull from the sutras, the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes the books that we're using in training, such as The Heart of Yoga, has a lot of gems that you can use to create a directed journal session. So, and the way we do our journaling, so it's directed. The time in training that we do it is right after our practice. So in my yoga teacher training, every time we meet, the very first thing we start off with is some sort of practice. Depending on the day's schedule, it can be longer or shorter practice, but we always start with some movement to get people into the room, again, just like a regular class. So we start off with our practice, and then right after that practice, while everyone's still a little bit quiet, a little contemplative after Shavasana and a little bit of closing meditation, then we do our journaling. So in my yoga teacher training, this upcoming session, we are meeting on Friday evenings, Saturdays, and Sundays. So we will be journaling 3 times a weekend on our directed journal topics. So that's how we run those. I do, in the materials I offer, just so you know how I work mine, I've got some journaling pages as part of the workbook piece. And then the trainer's version of the workbook has those directed journal topics to get you started. Of course, you're always free to choose your own topics, but in the event that you need some support and some help getting started, some jumpstart ideas for that, I do include some of those journal topics for you to get started. So that's how that works. Make sure I'm covering. The other point, a couple of points that I wanted to make is that I give them about 10 minutes to journal. So it's not a terribly long time, but what I encourage them to do is sort of stream of consciousness about the topic. So they're not sitting and thinking, but they really are just first thoughts that come to mind, first ideas that come to mind, and we journal for 10 minutes. The other piece is that I do not ask my trainees to share what they've journaled about. The goal in my training with the journaling is for them to have a space in which to freely express what they're thinking without feeling like they need to edit their journaling because they're going to have to share it in class. Now, before we journal, a lot of times there will be a discussion. Someone will ask a question, and that's when they kind of have an opportunity. And I always offer them an opportunity to share if there's something in their journaling they want to share, but I do not ask them to share what they're journaling about. I feel like that's sort of a time for them to privately write what they're truly feeling and thinking about those topics. So that's how I run journaling in my yoga teacher training. It actually, when I get feedback from my trainees, it's one of the things that one of their favorite activities in yoga teacher training. I get a lot of feedback from them about how they appreciated the time to really have time to reflect and think and write, almost in a therapeutic manner. At any given time, people are going through different things while they're going through yoga teacher training. And so it gives them some opportunity to do that. And I get great feedback about it. Even from people who say they're not journalers, they appreciated the time to kind of sit and write, especially right after the practice. It kind of is a nice way to, a nice time to journal. All right, so let's see. All right, so that's it for journaling. That's a quick and dirty coverage of how we run journaling in training. Again, if you have a topic about training, whether it's a how-to or a marketing or some other sort of yoga teacher training topic that you would like me to discuss in these live streams, feel free to leave me a note, a message, and I will work that into the schedule in the coming weeks. Over the next few months, again, I'm going to keep you posted on how my marketing is going for my yoga teacher training. And yeah, that's it. The last thing is if you are just joining us in the group or on the page, an easy way, I know it can be challenging to scroll through and try to find past videos. I also post these on my YouTube channel, which is just Julie Chavana, and they're all grouped in playlists and organized and all those kinds of things by topic. So if you want to catch some of the previous videos, you can check them out there. And of course, I announce those in my weekly newsletter to my email list. So you will get notices and links to them there as well. If you have not downloaded the Yoga Trainers Roadmap, you can go in the group or on the page in the description. There is a link for you to be able to do that. So feel free to do that and get some more tips for your yoga teacher training. All right. This is Julie Chavana with Yoga Tree Consulting and Yoga Trainers Tribe, and I will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.